This is my last video in this shop. I'm moving out of here next week, and whatever I don't get done, I'll have to just do in the driveway of my mom's house or at my friend Tom's shop or whatever. But after this, it should just be like wiring and electronics and little things. I'm going to try to finish all of the major stuff in this video. I'm going to build a console for my cab, going to finish my desk, build a couple drawers and a door for that, and then I'm running wire from the power station up to the cab and installing my DC to DC charger. I have to put a roof rack on the top of the cab for my spare tire, and then I have some other like kind of bolt-on overlander-y type of things to put on the van, just accessories, but just all the major stuff that I kind of need a shop for. I'm very grateful to my friend Mike, big shout out to him, the carpet guy, for letting me rent this shop. It has been a total game changer. None of this would have really been possible without him letting me stay here. And, you know, being able to work on the van over the winter and in inclement weather and extreme heat of the summer, and being able to paint this van, which I would not have been able to do with the weather we've had. Just, I'm very grateful for this shop. But it's time to move on. I no longer need this shop. I do pay rent here every month. It's a pretty significant amount of money out of pocket, and I just need to be done with this. So I'm gonna do what I can this weekend here in the shop, get the van as buttoned up as possible. I'm getting alignment on it next week, and then I'm gonna be focusing on moving out of here. So here in the cab, I of course removed my passenger seat. I won't be running a passenger seat. I don't need one. But I'm going to utilize as much of this space as possible. So what I'm going to do is build like a 3-tier shelf slash console thing that's going to hold my fridge. I'm going to have some storage. I'm going to have like a place to set things and a place for Kitty's bed. She has 2 beds. And I'm gonna kind of give her her own like kitty passenger seat so she can ride up front with me, assuming she develops the courage to do so, hopefully someday. And I just recently decided that I'm going to reuse the bracket from the passenger seat. It's gonna make the fridge sit a little higher than originally intended, but after kind of checking it out just now, I like it. It's easier for me to access the fridge now. I don't have to bend over as much. And then under here is where I'm going to put my DC to DC charger and all my wiring and stuff. It's kind of perfect, actually. And this whole thing needs to be removable so I can get the doghouse out easily. So I'm going to utilize the factory seat bolts and this bracket, and then whatever I build, I'm going to build up off of this. This piece of plywood's just sitting here for a base for my fridge. It's been that way for months. This is all just temporary. And I really don't have a definitive design. I kind of have something in mind, but I'm just pretty much winging it. I'm going to use plywood and glue and nails and screws and stuff. I also bought this roll of gray, like indoor-outdoor carpet. It's a very thin, lightweight material. It's basically what you would expect to see carpeting like a speaker box or something. And that's what I'm going to cover whatever I build today with. And to glue that on, I've got a couple of cans of this. It's spray-on headliner adhesive. I have 2 cans because I do intend on redoing my headliner, which isn't going to happen here in this shop. I'm going to have to do that some other time. So I kind of sort of know what I want. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. This is the seat bracket. The first tier is going to be flush mounted to this, and that's what the fridge will sit on. I'm going to kind of make it sort of a cradle so the fridge is secure. The biggest thing is not to block these kind of vents on the fridge, so it works right. But I want to pretty much make it as wide and as long as possible. I'm gonna leave this little cubby area open and just stuff it with things. I have, you know, I can fill that space with stuff. But looking at the floor here, what I'm gonna do is basically cut a piece of plywood that goes from about here, so just to the right of this center console on the doghouse, over to here, and then it's going to go pretty much from the back up to about right here where the floor angles up. So it's going to be pretty much a rectangle until you get up here. Then it's going to have a little bit of a notch right there, and that'll be the first level of the thing. And then I'll kind of build up from there. So for materials, I'm just using whatever I got. I'd like to use up as much of this lumber that I bought for the van as possible as well, because I really don't have anywhere to store all of that. The expensive big ticket items like the rest of my laminate for my countertop and stuff, I'll keep around. But if I can build this console and then 2 drawers and a door for my desk, I'll be good. So 22 by 38 is what I determined for the bottom piece. And then I'll figure out the funky notch portion of it after I cut out the overall shape. This is 1/2 inch BCX, and it's that weird stuff that I bought for my cabinet face that was the wrong like wood grain. So it's good wood, but it just isn't the kind of wood that I would like to stain and poly, but it's perfect for wrapping with carpet. It's not hot today, but it's like really, really humid. It's super muggy. It's supposed to rain for the next 3 days, but the rain ain't here yet. So I got the door shut. I'm doing all of this inside. Initially, the plan was to notch this piece, but it actually fits pretty good without having to do that. Yeah, I didn't really think about the fact that I'd have it elevated like 6 inches off the floor. So I might just leave the bottom just a rectangle, because it really, I mean, that's pretty good. So I might just do that. And then the next step would be to mark out and drill holes to bolt this to the seat bracket. Once I get that figured out, then I'll position the fridge and start building like a little cradle for that. When I take all of this apart to carpet the wood, I will clean this bracket up, of course. It's pretty filthy. I'm just using 5/16 hardware. I drilled the holes out 7/16 because that's what the hole in the bracket was, but that gives me some room to kind of adjust on it to get it perfectly straight once I'm done here for permanent installation. And I think when I carpet it, I will leave the bolts exposed on the top. Because the fridge has feet on it, so there's enough of a kind of a space underneath where I could have a little bit of a bolt protrusion. I'm using carriage bolts though, so they have a nice smooth top to them. actually pretty flush anyway because it kind of crushed into the plywood, but all right, next step is to set the fridge on it and draw out where that goes. I want the fridge as far to the right and as far to the back as it can go. And I think I'll use 1/2 inch 1x or whatever for the border for that. Yeah, right there. So I'm gonna take some of this 1x here and just stick it up against the fridge, basically. Get that kind of flush with the edge of the plywood. Then we'll put it on the other side, stick it up against the fridge, draw a line. So we got that side marked. Now we'll do the same with this. Put it up against the edge of the wood. Get it flush. And then bring it back over here. Ow. And gotta lift up on the fridge a little bit because we've got the plug here. So I can either go back behind the plug. Yeah, I'll do that. Let's simplify things here. So I'll just draw a line, but I'll have to square that up. All right, I got that marked out. Now I'm just gonna kind of measure up here. Looks like I can go about 1.5 inches. Because again, I need to keep these vents open. So 1.5 inches is gonna be basically what I do. Digging through my wood pile. This is all I got for 1x's, which is a pretty significant amount. This is more than enough to do this job. This is almost perfect right here at 1 5/8. But I'll go ahead and rip down one of these, which should be enough to build this whole thing with. I'll do this piece because it looks pretty good. Even though I am wrapping it with carpet, I don't want to use like, this guy's pretty terrible. That's gonna end up being probably firewood. I did open the door for this though, because the table saw seems to be the most dust producing one of them all. It is starting to rain. It's sprinkling. I'm adding 1/8 inch to all of my measurements, which probably isn't even enough, but just for that carpet that I'm going to be putting on all of this, because I want the fridge to actually still fit in there, but hopefully that's enough. I figure if I do that all around, you know. I could go work for Ford because I already engineered this wrong. This piece right here covers the bolt. In this case, I'm actually gonna do the right thing and change my design. I'm gonna put the fridge back on here and remeasure things, and I'm gonna cut out this back piece and notch it for the plug. So it'll just be 2 pieces with a gap. And that way the fridge will actually fit tighter in here, but it'll also just make this bolt accessible and make the plug easily removable. So here I have it clamped in there, and I'm actually going to add another 1/8 inch to this piece because it fits, but it still seems a little tight once I add that carpet. And then over here what I did is I put the board up to it, drew a line. I'm going to add an 1/8 inch to that, and I did the same on that side. And then I just measured from here to the edge of this black bit and measured again on here, drew a line. And then I measured about 3.5 in over here, which gives the plug and the cord plenty of space, and measured on that. So cut that, cut a new piece that's a little bit longer for the other side, then cut the ends off of this, just 1/8 of an inch longer than my line, and that should be perfect, and it'll clear the bolt. I've removed the seat bracket. Now I'm gonna assemble this. All I've got going on here is wood glue and the stapler. Pretty straightforward. I've added my length to this, and then everything else is cut. Just got to put it all together. 2 of the 3 sides I can just use the edge of the plywood, but then I'll have to square up the other 2. And it really doesn't matter since I'm using carpet over all of this, like which side of the wood I use, what's pretty, what ain't, doesn't matter. And I really don't need screws or anything. I mean, the fridge stays put. I've been driving around with it just resting on a sheet of plywood for months now, and it stays put. But kind of like my batteries, you know, it's good to have it sort of in a cradle. That was dramatic. What the hell? Okay, got a bad air chuck. This piece of shit. Try to get some staples in it without my air hose blowing off on me. Get some clamps on it too. Seems to only do it with this. Now we're gonna get super long clampy in here. And we're gonna use the tape measures. The square ain't gonna do a whole lot for me in this scenario. All right, so in between over here, we've got 13.5. That's pretty close, actually, 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I probably will add more 1x like this around this edge eventually, because this is going to be like storage. But we'll do that later. Now I'm going to build the next tier, which is going to be at the same level as these cup holders. And it's going to go pretty much all the way across the back and pretty much around the fridge. So and it's probably not going to come all the way out to the edge here. It might, but now that I'm looking at all of this, I might actually like angle cut this or radius it or something, kind of get rid of this sharp edge here. So kind of designing this as I go, you know what I mean? But it's going to be sweet and really functional. Well, it's about an hour and a half later, and we have tier 2 complete. The stapler jammed, I had to take it all apart and stuff. And I got pretty carried away with this. I did end up 45 in that and notching out like 6 inches of it, just to make a better, like, smoother entry into the cab. And then tier 1, I put like fencing around it, so this is like a little cubby kind of thing, so that's all storage right there. And then I got real fancy with the verticals up here. And then tier 2, 45'd as well. I sanded kind of smoothed out the radius on the front. Back here it's real subtle, but I did sand the very back of it there to keep the distance away from the center console, because, you know, it tapers, it's like wider on the top. Stuck my tablet mount there just for fun. This shelf here is not going to have any fencing on it, it's just a shelf, and that's where I'm going to put my little keyboard and mouse for my tablet and whatever else I want to put there. I'll probably keep this area here just open. This is all going to be carpeted. But now it's time to do tier 3, and then I'm going to wall off behind here, just to the left of the fridge, just to separate, like partition it, and keep stuff from like falling into the void. I'm going to have this area back down inside here. That's all going to be just storage, and it'll be accessible from when you open the passenger door. But tier 3 is going to be just for Kitty's bed, basically. It's just for her. So what I'm going to do is take some measurements now, and basically I want to get her bed like pretty much flush with the top of the fridge right here, and just give her like a nice cushy place to kind of ride, or if she don't ride there, then she can just hang out here, you know, when we're at camp, and, you know, get some sun or something. Just another spot for her. But it's going to be basically just a platform a little bit lower than the height of the fridge, and I'm going to kind of wall that off as well. And then once I get that done, I'll show you. And then I need to carpet this thing, which is going to be pretty interesting now that it's all fully assembled and put together, and it don't come apart. It's all glued together and stuff. So glued and stapled. All right, finished construction. There it is. We got this third tier, which isn't really much higher than the second one. I was going to go higher than that, but I decided to build it where it kind of just goes right under that handle on the fridge, which I could remove that handle, and I might, because it would make Kitty's bed fit better. And I don't know which direction I want to put her bed yet. It's got this little, it's like a couch, but if I flip it around, there's better the vent, you know, fits better. But, and then I kind of walled it off, but I decided to leave that little spot open because Kitty can crawl under this whole deal and get over to like the window or door step entry step well thing, or down under there, just for fun. For if you know about cats, you know why I chose to do that. But over here, I'm leaving this whole area open because I'm gonna store things in here. Now in this, like right here between the door, I have to put the door panels on, which I'm gonna do in this video, but between the door and this is where I'm gonna stuff all my Reflectix that I made. It's just the perfect spot for it. And then I have my RV window cover, cab cover. I got my safety cone. I have an extra fire extinguisher. I got all kinds of shit that I'll be putting over here in this corner. Maybe my tool bag too. Just gonna use every inch of this space. But I need to drill a hole right here for this wire. It's gonna come up from the bottom, and then I have a ton of wiring to do under here, actually, DC to DC charger and all that. But now I need to carpet this whole contraption, which is going to be kind of a chore. It's a lot of contours and stuff, but hopefully the product's just so easy to work with that I can just use a razor blade and that spray adhesive and just kind of make it look good enough, you know? So I'm going to throw that on time lapse and we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully not too terrible. I think it'll probably be fine. Kind of looks like a cat tree. I cleaned up the seat bracket here and hit it with a 20-year-old can of black spray paint from Walmart. It's still drying. When I say I used a 20-year-old can of spray paint from Walmart, I'm not being dramatic. It doesn't go bad. Well, that turned out pretty good. Kitty has a place to hang out. I did take the back handle off the fridge there, just so everything fits better. And now I've got me a little storage area. And the fridge is elevated, so it's easier for me to get to. I don't have to bend way down or nothing. And it kind of, you know, Kitty has room to kind of hang out little. She's probably going to scratch the shit out of that, but that's okay. She doesn't really use her actual scratching post naturally. So, something for her. It's her van too. Got my passenger door panel here. Getting ready to clean it up and put it back on. Really confused right now. My van is a 2011. Okay. The insert here, which is a separate piece that they swap out depending on if you have power windows or manual windows, right? On here it says April 16th, 2015. And over here, on this sticker, it says February 28th, 2020. And then over here it says August 6th, 2020. Why would I have a door panel that says 2020 on my 2011 van? It's interesting. I don't know why they would ever like replace just the door panel. And it really doesn't look newer. There's no way this is from 2020. This thing's all beat up, you know, and filthy. I mean, the amount of dust and dirt in this thing is... So I don't know what the hell all these stickers are all about, but anyway, I'm putting my door panels back on at the moment. There's the driver's side. 2019. Yeah, weird. Alright, I pulled the contraption back out because I need to run wire now from the back to the front. Originally I was going to do like basically PVC and a large diameter, like 1.5 inches from the power system to just right there under where the passenger seat was. But after laying under the van yesterday and inspecting the area, it's impossible to do that. I have to do some sort of flex. And I went to Menards and just looked at all the like watertight flex and various conduits and stuff. And I could not find anything that I could afford that was big enough around, because I need to run 2 4-gauge wires for my DC to DC charger, a 14-gauge black and red for the fridge, and then a 2 12-gauge black and red up there, plus a 12-gauge extension cord for AC, because I'm putting some outlets up on the dash. So that's why I wanted like 1.5 inches or something big, pretty significant. The only way I could have done that is like a year ago when I was installing my door, when I had the whole floor cut out. If I knew this, then I would have been able to drill a hole through the front C channel, the metal piece. That's the front floor support for the box where it goes into the cab. But now I gotta kind of take the long way home, which is fine. But for watertight flex, which is like basically what you would see, like the whip that hooks up to an air conditioner, you know, they didn't have anything big enough. The biggest size is 1 inch, and that stuff, it was like, because I need at least like 5 feet, and it would have been like $100 for enough to go 2 runs up. So what I ended up getting, because I'm probably gonna have to do 2 runs because I really don't want the AC extension cord in there with the 12 volt DC. I was gonna do that with like 1.5 inch PVC, but now I'm gonna probably run that separate. But I ended up just getting this. It's like totally the wrong thing. This is ENT. It's basically what they run like fiber optic or Ethernet through, like in an office building or something. But for a 10-foot roll in 1 inch diameter, this was 12 bucks. So, and you know, my whole thought process there, my self-justification for poor decision making, which is, you know, a mental gymnastics that I do frequently in my life. On a vehicle underneath, everything's just kind of ran in split loom and wrapped with electrical tape anyway, you know. So this is better than that. Basically, oh, it's like, it's a 4-pack of, I think the dude charged me 12 bucks and I got 4 of them. All right. Sweet. Basically, this is what it is. I know for sure I paid 12 bucks for that, but I think that was the retail display box, and I just grabbed the whole thing. You know, that's not 100% my fault, but we're just gonna... Anyway, it's this, you know, and it's 1 inch diameter. And it's basically like split loom, but it's a lot sturdier and it's not split, so it's more of a conduit. But what I have to do is I have to drill a hole through the cab floor right under where the passenger seat bracket goes, and then drill another hole in my box floor back by my inverter, which I'm not totally stoked about drilling a hole through my cab floor, but you know, I'm building an RV here. It's, you do what you gotta do. So, and there's really no better way to do this. Anywhere else I'd be getting close to like the drivetrain, the exhaust, the transmission, like places where you don't want to run a bunch of wires and crap. So, but the plan is drill a hole, both ends, run this, route it as good as I can. It's gonna go between the frame rail and my entry lowered step, and then secure it real well with whatever I got, which is probably gonna be basically like plastic plumber strap and a couple screws everywhere. And then I'm gonna snake, I got 4 gauge for the DC to DC, and then black and red 14 for the fridge. It's gonna have its own dedicated circuit always. That was always the plan, its own fuse, everything. That way you don't risk losing all your food because something else on that same circuit blew a fuse or shorted out or whatever. And then I'm gonna run just a 12 gauge single circuit up to the cab, because on the dash, on that side of the dash, there's just a 12-volt DC outlet, and I'm gonna run that for my charger for my Surface Pro, but I want that running off the house batteries. That way I can just leave it on all the time and not have to worry about unplugging it when I'm parked at camp, so I don't drain my van battery. Plus I'm gonna put USB chargers on the dash on that side that I want running off the house batteries. And that's gonna be what my cat's water fountain plugs into, so. All right, down here under the van, this is my entryway that I made. And originally the plan was to run it like right here between the back of this and, you know, kind of above the frame rail. But once you get over to the front of the box, there's this C-channel here, this support for the front. So like when I had my whole floor cut out and I was building this, if I had thought of doing this at the time, I could have drilled a hole right through that, which would end up in the cab because the box floor is that much higher than the cab floor, and that's where the conduit would have came out. It would have been perfect. I would have had a perfectly straight run all the way back here to just past the entry, and then I could have just gone up. Actually, you see that screw poking through right there? That is those screws. That's I believe my inverter. So I could have just kind of right there or something drilled a hole. I would have had like one bend, like an elbow coming up there. So now the new plan is I am going to drill a hole there, run flex along this area, but then when I get over here, I'm going to kind of go like through here over this body mount because there's plenty of room there, and then when I get over here, two of the seat mounting bolt studs are inside this channel. You actually can't access the other side of them bolts, which is kind of sucks because I was going to replace all of them because they're kind of in rough shape, but just beyond this channel here, this area is just the cab floor. So basically I'm gonna drill a hole like there through my cab floor and run the conduit from there to the back. So what I think I'll do is start with that. I'm gonna just drill up right here with a small tiny drill bit and then come in from the top with a actual hole saw. I'll loosen this up so if I do happen to like stab right there, it won't, in theory, it won't jack it up. But I think I'm gonna come out like somewhere in this vicinity. Perfect. Well, that drill bit's done for. Good old Harbor Freight. That's way too big, but that's fine. Okay, so over here I'm doing pretty much the opposite. I'm coming down from the top first. I really need to clean this area too, but I'll do that after I'm done drilling holes in my van. So I basically need to go just beyond this screw and like right in front of it. So pretty much right here. I'm gonna go double check that because I'd like to get as close to the edge as possible. I'll be right back. Yep, there's a floor support right here. So I have to go, you know, right about here. Grab a hole saw now. I decided I have a hole saw that would be extremely tight, and I probably wouldn't be able to get the conduit through. Or I got one that's going to be way too loose. I decided it'd be a lot easier to just caulk the shit out of a hole rather than have to try and file out a hole and make it fit. So when you use hole saws from Harbor Freight, it kind of cauterizes as it goes. Getting wire through this is going to be fun, especially that 4 gauge. I changed my mind again. I'm going to run attempt to run the AC with it, because I don't want to run another piece of conduit. There's no room for that. And this is pretty tight for 2 4-gauge wires, 2 12-gauge wires, 2 14-gauge wires, and then a 12-gauge extension cord. That's like, it's gonna be full in there. And it might get kind of hot too, honestly. Probably not, actually, because I am like way oversizing all my wires in this van build. So what I'm trying to do now, there's a thing called fish tape, and I have some, but it ain't here. So what I'm gonna do, because the fridge wire, I already have it made. It's like put together nice, and you know, this is what I need to use, but it's got a plug on one end of it. So this needs to go in that way, but everything else I want to pull this way. So what I'm gonna try to do is I have this 10 gauge house wire, which is pretty stiff. So I'm going to tape the fridge wire to this and then try to just push it through to the other side. And then I'll unhook this, and then I'll leave this and hook this to my whole just mess of other wires, and then try to pull it back through. If I'm not successful at doing any of this, which I don't think I will be, and I don't have, what I would really like is some silicone spray, but I don't have any of that either, because that's the perfect lubricant for what I'm doing here. It makes a huge difference, especially with this kind of conduit that's like got ridges in it for stuff to catch on the whole way through. But if I'm not successful at doing any of this, which I'm expecting to not be able to do this, so if it is a success, great. But the other plan is pull that conduit back out of the van and then lay it out flat on the ground, get it as straightened out as possible, and then feed all the wire through it all at once, and then install it back in the van. But the only difficult thing about that is I need to take my AC breaker panel apart and disconnect that cable that I already installed to go up here to the cab, which is not that big of a deal. But if I can get away with this, that would be pretty sweet. I'm gonna try. I really don't think this is gonna work with the way I had to run that conduit. There's so many bends and crazy angles going on with that. But we'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe it won't be that hard. It probably will. Come on, baby. So close. You know what I think I might do? I'm just gonna pull that last bend out because that's the sharpest one in the whole deal here. Oh yeah, we did it. I was not expecting that to work, but it did. Okay, so this is what I'm attempting to push through there, plus this. All of this. This is the extension cord for the AC, 2 4-gauge for my DC to DC, and then 2 12-gauge. So all of this needs to fit, plus the fridge wire that I just pulled through. That is asking a lot from a 1-inch piece of conduit. I mean, tight fit. And I need to do this somehow without accidentally pulling the fridge wire back through. Here's what I'll do. I'm just gonna take it and basically tie it to my desk. Yeah, this is insanity. It's not gonna fit. I could have did 6-gauge for my DC to DC, but my idea with that is it's a pretty long run in its entirety. We're going from the battery of the van back to these bus bars, so that's, you know, a good 12 feet, and it's 40 amps, you know, but I was just thinking up it to 4-gauge to reduce any voltage drop or keep the cables cooler. All right, how can I get this into a shape that it'll accept all of this? I'm gonna have to use a lot of electrical tape here. My dad's watching this video and he's an electrician. I'd love to hear what he's got to say about all this. I'm using the cheap electrical tape for this too, not my good stuff. This is like the stuff I make band-aids with. Is that even gonna fit? It's not even gonna fit. Oh, maybe. Yeah, it'll fit. Very, very tightly. Terrible, terrible idea. All right. I might be pulling this all out of the van and mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? I don't want to. If I could get away with doing this. The hard thing. The wrong thing. Shouldn't have AC in the same conduit as all this DC. It's a lot of cable for a tiny little piece of conduit. I really don't need AC power in the cab. I could just give up on that whole prospect. Yeah, this is just too much for it. It's working. I unchanged my mind, by the way. I couldn't get that 120 volt extension cord through here too. That was just way too much, and it's unsafe. So what I'm gonna do, which is also unsafe but less bad, so I'm just gonna run that alongside this conduit on the outside of it, maybe in some split loom. These 8 gauge or these 4 gauge cables here, it'll be fused coming off the DC to DC with I don't remember what I got, like a 50 amp fuse or something. And my main battery is fused with like a 400 amp fuse, but this wire goes directly to the bus bar. So I mean, it essentially ties in to my DC power system directly. So to have a 120 volt extension cord just totally crammed in this tiny little conduit along with that, probably not good. So I changed my mind and then I unchanged my mind, mainly because it wouldn't fit. Alright, so here I modified the hole to relieve extra tension on the slightly better than Christmas tree extension cord. And then I did the make your own damn grommet trick by cutting a piece of rubber hose. But this time I used the good stuff with the braided hose. And I kind of like hammered and smashed the van metal so it's not sharp. So this is good. I've got everything ran, and I pulled my fridge wire back through enough. So next step, and I have this zip tied up as good as I could. I'm all out of split loom. So this is going to be fine until a rodent chews through it. So now what I'm going to do is take black RTV and just seal the hell out of both holes on either side. And if I have to pull any of these one way or the other, I can, no problem. But this, I've got it pulled as far forward as I need it to go. And I have plenty to get up into the dash where I'm going to put some outlets. All the wiring is going to happen later, probably in the driveway at my mom's house. I don't have time to wire anything right now. I'm just getting it ran so I can finish building my desk, which is what I'm attempting to do in this video. Things that I can't do without a shop. So yeah, so I got this all, we call that roughed in. Alright, my next step is to finish this desk. I'm going to build 2 drawers and then a door underneath. And it's going to be the exact same construction as right across here. They're just going to be two shallower drawers on the top, a drawer underneath, and then stain and poly and trim everything out. And it's basically exactly the same as what you've already seen on this channel. So I'm going to just show you when I'm done. And then we'll move on to things you haven't seen yet. Alright, this took an entire day, believe it or not. Same construction as this side. I went with one drawer instead of two because that's easier, lightweight, and cheaper. These drawer tracks I'm using are 18 bucks a pair. They're like top of the line. And the shortest drawer track I could get was 16-inch, but I built my drawer 14 because I needed space to clear my fuse box, breaker panel, all of that. And then I have a single door underneath with the rat-a-tatan for airflow. And then for additional airflow, I cut in a vent right there for my inverter to breathe. The only difference between this side and that side is the top trim. This stuff here is nicer. I just used the same casing that I already had that I built the cabinet doors with. It's not as attractive, but I had it, so there you go. So this is done. Now it's time to move on to the very last of the exterior things, and then I need to move out of this shop. I have 5 of these wheels and tires because if you're a modern day vehicular nomad, having a spare is kind of important. With the regular Chevy Express van, the spare tire is mounted underneath in the back, like any truck or anything. But with the cutaway van, they don't come with the spare for some reason, and they put a muffler there instead. So I need somewhere to mount this. There's those like vertical mounts that go on the back of vans, but they're prone to failure because weight and gravity and stuff. So I've decided to put it right there on the cab roof because that's really the only place I have room to do that. And I also seen that Brian, the adventure van man, who has this exact same box van, put his up there on a roof rack, and I was like, that's a perfect solution. So here I've got the roof rack from the SS United States. I just went down to Pensacola to the salvage yard there and I said, hey Terry, what do you got for aluminum? He said, oh hell, this whole thing's made out of aluminum. That's why we're cutting it up to make more Teslas. I already put it up on the roof to see if it fits, and I've determined that I need to cut about 2 to 3 inches off these crossbars. So I'm gonna do that. First, I'm gonna clean it all up because as you can see, it's in pretty rough shape, you know, from 35 years of nobody with money giving a shit about our history. So I'm all moved out of my shop now except for my mini bike and my tool cart. The alignment shop can't get me in until Tuesday, which is fine. I went to drive the van and the front wheels rub. I followed the guidelines of the website that I bought these expensive lift knuckles from as far as tire size. And I mean, it's fine, but they do rub on just the corner of the fenders. There's this plastic there. Right there. Just right there. So I'm gonna trim it with the Dremel, just like that. It's just plastic. So now I just need to touch up my paint a little bit. Should be good. I also decided that I'm gonna cut the box and redo the rear wheel openings, like make the arches a little bigger, because that's easy to do. It's just plywood. I could open that up a good 2 inches all the way around and give it kind of a better looking radius. It's not the most attractive thing. All I need to do is go get some aluminum plywood edge trim to put back over it after I cut it, and then paint that black. So my wheels stick out. They don't, but they are gonna hit this. So I need to trim my wheel openings up. I can go to pretty much right below these bolts. I'm gonna leave about a 1/2 inch for some edge trim, plywood edge trim. I was going to like kind of open this up a little and make it look a little more attractive, kind of change the angles and stuff, but I've decided that's more work than it's worth. So I'm just gonna continue this angle here up and add another like 2 inches of my wheel openings on both sides. I'm gonna use Bob Vila here, and then I'm getting rid of that. Guy doesn't need 3 rip saws. And I've got some power grab and some Tex for that trim. And I got my Dremel for, you know, fine tuning things or whatever. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm gonna take my rear wheels off, cut these, hope I don't screw it up. It's kind of scary. And then, yeah, that'll give me the clearance I need to not rub when I go over rough terrain and bumps and stuff, and get the van flexing around, you know. Well, that's quite a bit better. Getting that trim on was an unexpectedly huge pain in the butt. The mistake I made was trying to put the top piece on last, but what made it difficult was the FRP is delaminating because it, the location that it's in, it's seen some abuse. So trying to get this stuff on and squeeze all the layers of the plywood together was a chore. And naturally, I need more trim because 8 foot was not enough to do both sides. So I got to go spend another $12 at Menards, and I can get the other side done, which should go a lot easier because, now I kind of know what I'm doing. So obviously I'm going to paint all this and get it looking real nice again. But for now, I've got a couple tech screws in it and power grab. So and that trim's on there real tight. It's a tight fit. So I don't think it's ever going to come off. But, the shape of the opening isn't like super attractive, but now I know that my wheels ain't going to rub. So that's good. Here's the other side just to give you a comparison. So I gained quite a bit of clearance there. So about 2.5 inches, I think I cut out of that other one. This side was 10,000 times easier, and it looks better. The second side always goes faster, and that's a wrap on this shop, actually. I am getting an alignment tomorrow morning on the van, and I have moved out. I have a few things left that I need to sell, or I'm attempting to sell. And that's it. I'm out of here. I'm leaving my compressor, my jack, these things, that toolbox, my workbench, my shelving units, all of that I'm giving to my friend Mike, the carpet guy, and some of that artwork, you know. But that's it. 14 months of building this van here in this shop, and it's time to move on. And just like that, I'm shopless. Let me show you what I got going on here in the garage at my mom's house. So it ain't much, but the price is right. This is all that's left of my tools. I gave away quite a bit, and I sold quite a bit too. I ended up making about a month's worth to survive on doing van life, which not too shabby. I probably could have sold a lot more and done a little better with that, but I really just don't have the time or energy to do all of that. So I did give away like quite a bit. My friend, the carpet guy, wanted some stuff, and you know, so this is what I got, and I feel like it's still way too much. Minimalism's harder than you think. So for the last week or so, I've been working on this mess. I've been waist deep in all my crap, trying to get it to fit in here, and also trying to figure out what I'm taking with me on the road. I need to somehow get this pile of crap in the back of my van. Obviously, it's not all gonna fit. Right now in the back of the van, I've got all the stuff that still needs to be done to the van to finish the van build. I'll show you that. Quite a bit to do still. We've got winch, roof rack, spare tire, Starlink, carpet for the cab, recovery boards, ladder, tons of wiring, DC to DC charger, whole security system, lots of gadgets and electronics. But that's about it. So mostly wiring, but the big ticket item is that roof rack, which you're gonna have to see in another video. I'm gonna need Tom's help with that now at this point. But that's kind of the idea. As soon as I get all of this done and pretty much empty this back of the van out, then I can try to figure out how to make all of this crap fit in the van. Plus my bicycle. So that leads me to explaining the trailer hitch. This is all firewood, by the way. You see what I did there? So the whole point of this hitch was to run a cargo carrier on the back. I've never really planned on towing anything with the van. I just wanted extra storage because, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't want to have to move my bike every time and dig out of my van. And there's a lot of things I don't even want to keep in the van, like trash and firewood and extra water and stuff like that. But what ended up happening here is the way I installed this hitch, how I originally intended it, or kind of thought about it, was the hitch would be way back in here. Like, you know, it would be flush with the rear of the actual van, and then this trunk would be sticking out way past the hitch. Well, the way it worked out, you know, yeah, I could go spend like a frickin' week with a welder and some bracketry and stuff and actually get the hitch to mount way up under there right off of the frame. But what I ended up getting before I installed the hitch is this thing, which is a swing away hitch adapter, because the idea is once you put a cargo basket on here, you're not going to be able to open these doors. And now if I did that, even without this adapter, if I just got a cargo carrier, this hitch is going to stick out way too far. I mean, we're talking ridiculous overhang coming off of the back of the van. I mean, with this plus a cargo carrier, I'm like freaking 4 or 5 feet off the back of the van. This thing was like 200 bucks and it's too late to return it. So I'm gonna keep this around, but the cargo carrier is gonna be some other day. Also, I was going to just buy one of those cargo carrier things that you can put your license plate on too, because now that I've done all this modification to the van, my plate is somewhat obstructed, and that's probably going to get me pulled over. So I came up with a new plan for the license plate, which you'll see in another, probably the next video. But I'm just going to mount it to one of these doors back here with a light and a proper license plate mounting bracket thingy. But I could like build my own custom cargo carrier as well. But I think I want to just hit the road and like figure out like how little I can be comfortable with, because you know, I think everyone kind of has the same entering into a nomadic like van life kind of deal, is you hit the road with like way more crap than you really need. A lot of what I'm struggling with is I want to bring all this stuff for the van itself so I never break down. Like I have a extra starter and a bunch of tools and a bunch of wiring stuff and like things that I would need to repair the van, but it's like that's going to take up half of my storage. And then another issue is I have a whole actual backpacking, like hiking backpacking setup that I really want to bring, but now I have cats and I'm trying to determine if I'm ever actually going to be able to do like overnight backpacking trips. Should I just leave all that stuff here, hit the road, and then maybe someday, if I ever get back here, I can sort of like change it up, basically, is what I'm saying. Other things that I'm not sure if I even really want to bring with me is like that swamp cooler. I probably really should bring that with me. But things I'm definitely bringing is like my bicycle, my little grill, air compressor, my actual day-to-day camping stuff, and my inflatable kayak and my fishing rods, because I definitely would miss that right away if I didn't bring that stuff with me. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, is not only trying to finish the van build, but also trying to figure out how to pack the van, basically. And I'm trying to hit the road in a couple weeks. So, expectations versus reality on the actual lifestyle that I'm going to have now. Obviously, I know what's important because I've been road tripping for years. After living out of a car for 2 weeks, there's only like a few things that I actually miss. A good bed, a shower, and my kitties. But when I'm road tripping, I'm all by myself and I'm about as free as it gets. I can do whatever I want and I have no responsibilities. Now I have quite a bit bigger of a rig and cats. As much as I want to do things like crazy backpacking and kayaking trips and wild stuff, I also have responsibilities too. So I'm gonna have to get all this figured out in the next couple weeks as I pack my van. But the next couple videos are going to be me finishing the van build. So lots of wiring. I know a lot of you have been wanting to see that DC to DC charger get installed. I'm about to be doing that. I'm also replacing all of the main battery cables in the van. The alternator charge wire, the battery cables, the grounds, all of that. I'm upgrading all of that stuff. Installing the Starlink up on the roof, and like my whole security system, cameras, alarm, that kind of stuff. I have some pretty cool gadgets that I'm excited to wire up and get working in the van. And then finishing the cab. Actually, the next video you're going to see is a really cool field trip that I just took yesterday on a quest to go get automotive carpet padding for the cab. And I'm really excited to edit that video and show it to you guys here on YouTube. It's kind of a fun little adventure. There's a pretty cool museum. And finishing the cab, I got a new captain's chair coming, hopefully soon. It should be shipped by now, so I need to look into that. But I have an actual very comfortable RV captain's chair coming to replace the totally like utilitarian van seat. Road tripping several hours in that would not be great. I mean, this is the new spot. I kind of refer to it as like the docking station, because I can just back the van right up and kind of load and unload it and work on it. So it's kind of a good setup, kind of the home base, if you will. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys later.